welcome back to Premier League Primetime, episode 26. And geez, it's been a while. It's been a really, really long while. And before we start, I just want to say, big up to people I'm meeting that are going to Cal Poly Slope because they have been bigging up the show and they've been spreading it around. So big up all of yourselves on that one. Anyways, we're back and it's been how long? Over a month, I think. And I'm back, and we're all back here. And Cyrus says, as this, I don't know what he's doing. Anyways, Andre, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Mostly trying to forget everything going on at my club. So I've been really positive lately.
Yeah. And Cyrus and Jose, how are both of you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Both of my teams are looking pretty good right now. That is Real Madrid and Manchester United. They're both looking pretty good, so I'm a happy man.
All right. And Cyrus, how are you doing? Or will it be the usual no response? And I will take that as I hope Arsenal get relegated by Mopé. All right. Anyways, we're just gonna get right into this. And since we've last been on, four match days have been played. Match day 30 through match day 33. We're just gonna go right from the top, and we're gonna start with Arsenal. And it's not looking on the most amazing, but it could be worse. Losing 3-0 to Liverpool match day 30, then beating Sheffield United 3-0, which isn't that difficult. Drawing Fulham and then losing to Everton at home. And Cyrus, what would you give Arsenal for this streak of 4 games?
Probably a C, to be honest, but honestly, I don't think the Premier League really matters for us anymore. It's all about the Europa League. During those 4 games, we qualified for the next round of the Europa League, so I'm happy about that. But besides that, just kind of been just super inconsistent this year. One game's amazing, the next is just horrible. So we have to figure it out. We're also missing some key names now. Unfortunately, Lacazette got injured. He's been really good since December, so.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. In terms of just Arsenal's perspective, I think Arteta is just focusing all aim on Europa because that's their only chance of getting into any decent place, this summer, because Arsenal season has just been abysmal overall. And quick question, in terms of this streak in this 4-game streak, who's been, in your opinion, like the most, not necessarily the best player, but maybe the most noticeable, important, relevant player to this streak of 4 games? Who would be your
I mentioned Lacazette, but I also have to shout out Callum Chambers. I think he's been pretty decent since replacing Bellerin. I think we know that Bellerin's going to leave this summer, so I think he's been a decent replacement. So
yeah. Callum Chambers has been pretty decent. And then, as you said, filling in for Hector Bellerin. Lacazette, he was it's unfortunate that he got injured. And Aubameyang out with I think it was malaria that he was out with.
Yeah.
As far as I know. Best wishes. Hope he gets better soon. And yeah, I'd say those are 2 pretty relevant players to the streak of 4 games. Anyways, Jose, over to you. And looking at Aston Villa, and Aston Villa, it seems to get worse for Aston Villa. Seeing where they were at one point and now seeing how far they've fallen off. They beat Fulham, lost to Liverpool and City, and they drew West Brom. What are you giving them for this streak of 4 games?
Yeah, I'd probably give them a C. I think that we have to think about the fact that their drop in form has coincided perfectly with the loss of Jack Grealish in their first team. I think that had he been in the team, they definitely could have. I think they could have pulled out definitely a win against West Brom and maybe a draw against Liverpool or Man City. Not the worst results, to be honest. When you think about the fact that Jack Grealish wasn't in that team, so I think a C is fair. And I think that the players that stood out, it's a tough race between Anwar El Ghazi and Ollie Watkins. They're both pretty consistent goal scorers during this time period for Villa.
Yeah, 100%. Ollie Watkins is just stood out all season for me. He's been almost a revelation in this Villa side. He got an England call up, rightfully so, given the chance, and he scored on national duty. Great for Ollie Watkins, and I'm sure he'd be hoping to do that, to be scoring goals for Arsenal in the future, because for people who didn't know, Ollie Watkins is actually a massive Arsenal fan, and he was a massive Arsenal fan as a kid. And I'm sure Cyrus would love to see a great striker like Ollie Watkins play for Arsenal. Into the next team, and we've got Brighton, and they're one of the two teams or three teams that are in contention to just surviving relegation. I mean, for me, that last spot is between Brighton, Newcastle, and Fulham. Those three sides there. And he was taking a look at Brighton. They lost against Manchester United. They drew 0-0 to both Everton and Chelsea consecutively, and they also lost to Sheffield United. So it's been pretty poor. Andre, what would you give Brighton for the streak of 4 games, and what players have stood out for you?
Yeah, they're like we said, they are winless in their last 4. But when you consider like a relegation contender side that can, give a struggle to inform teams like Everton and Chelsea and hold them to 0-0 draws, I mean that's really positive from them. Granted, it's not the most exciting, but those are huge results, because those are top teams that are both in contention for Europe this season. I think they'd be at a much higher score had they gotten a win against Sheffield United, because that loss is huge for in terms of what's going on with their season. I mean, had they won that game, they'd be above Southampton right now. They're still out of the relegation zone. I think had they gotten that one against Sheffield United, I'd give them an A. But yeah, that was just a huge disappointment, I'm sure, to the fans too. So I'd probably give them like a C.
Yeah. And as I just said there, right before you went on, what players have stood out for you for Brighton over these 4 games?
Right. I wouldn't say there's been one like standout player, but what you're seeing is a lot of the players with seniority, like the likes of Danny Welbeck, I think scored twice in that run. Adam Lallana even got a goal. Lewis Dunk is always going to show his leadership capabilities. So it's really just kind of a lot of the more experienced players that are coming out as leaders and leading the way to survival.
All right. Into the next side, and we have Burnley. And Burnley, although the results on paper don't look great, in terms of just their form as a whole, it's definitely been kind of surprising because it's picked up. They lost 3-2 to Southampton. They lost to Newcastle as well, losing to Manchester United, and they went away to Wolves. And Chris Wood, turned into prime Ronaldo R9 and scored a hat trick against Wolves in a 4-0 win. Cyrus, back to you. What would you give Burnley, and who are your standout players?
I think I'd give. Look, they went 1-3, but I feel like they had some hard fixtures. I'd just give them maybe B-. I think they had a really good win against Wolves. I think they could have beat Newcastle for sure. And Southampton haven't been that bad this season, so 3-2's not that bad. And losing the Man U is never, like, for a team like that, it's never like huge disappointment. So I give them B-. Really good win against Wolves, super surprising. Never really see Burnley with like a score like that, especially against a decent team like Wolves. Probably the player that stand out most to me is Chris Wood. I watched that game against Wolves, and he gave me some morning wood. Like, geez, that was a great hat trick by him. So, yeah, I'd probably say him.
Well, Cyrus, I'm sure he gave the entire Burnley fan base all of them morning wood because he was spectacular against Wolves, caused them a lot of trouble. Into the next item, we have Chelsea. And Chelsea, who have looked good, who have looked so good under Thomas Tuchel. They're starting to fracture a bit, not tremendously, but a bit. Matchday 30 was an absolute shocker, absolutely shocking. Their first loss under Tuchel, coming in the strangest of fashions, losing 5-2, and yes, 5-2 to West Brom. They beat Crystal Palace 4-1. I remember Christian Pulisic was unbelievable that game. Um, and they beat West Ham by a goal to nil. And what was he gonna say? I lost my thought. I lost my train of thought. Jose, over to you. What are you going to give Chelsea in terms of their grade, and what player stands out has stood out for you?
Yeah, I think I'd give them a B. I think that they've been a bit up and down in the league, but I really agree with you. I think that they've looked like since Tuchel arrived, I think that they look like a better team than all of the teams that are above them except for Manchester City, in my opinion. I think that they have looked so solid defensively, bar that one game against West Brom. I think that they've looked really good. But if I were to say that there was one player who stuck out, it'd be pretty difficult because I would want to give it to a defender, but then you see that they've conceded 5 goals in one of their games, so I don't know if I can do that. And then Pulisic has looked good in 2 of the games, but in the other 2 he kind of went missing. So I don't know. I think I'll give it to Pulisic, but it's a close one. I think if I was going to give it to a defender, I would have given it to Rudiger, who's been looking pretty good, way improved under Tuchel, and he looked good today in the Champions League as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Antonio Rudiger has been, I mean, since Tuchel's come in, he's just looked. I mean, let's be real. He's looked good because he's gotten game time and runs in the side. Let's just be real here about that point. Andre, over to you. Crystal Palace. They drew Everton. They lost to Chelsea 4-1. They didn't play in Matchday 32. But in Matchday 33, they lost to Leicester. What are you going to give Crystal Palace here, and who are your standout players?
They've been a shadow of themselves, I'd say. I'd probably give them like a D. Granted, they were very unlucky against Leicester.
Harsh.
Yeah, I mean, it is Palace, so I guess, expectations aren't going to be that high. But, yeah, I think they were unlucky against Leicester with that Iheanacho winner, but they were just utterly dominated by Tuchel and Chelsea. Granted, they did need to bounce back after West Brom, so maybe that had something to do with it. I'd say in terms of standout players, I'd probably go Benteke. It's been, in general,
in terms of standout players, they don't have to necessarily be players that have been playing well. They could just be they could be in bad form or whatnot. Standout players doesn't have to be amazingly good. It could be horrendously bad as well.
Okay. Well, no, I don't know. I was already pretty harsh, so I'll just stick with Benteke playing well. I think Eze has kind of gone missing for a few games now. Kind of forgotten to say his name a lot, but yeah, I'll give him a C.
All right, fair enough. Cyrus, next back to you. We have Everton. Again, a bit of a weird one, to be honest with you. Just so inconsistent as they've been for gosh knows, the majority of the season. And we'll start as they drew Crystal Palace, and they drew Tottenham as well, and they beat Arsenal on the road. Who are your standout players, and what are you going to give Everton?
Sorry, I was muted. They went undefeated in those 4 games, but I don't know. You're right with the inconsistency. I think they could have had better results against Crystal Palace and Brighton, but they did manage to beat Arsenal with a great Leno save. And I think they could have beat a team like Tottenham, considering it's Tottenham. So I'm gonna go with I think I'll go with a B. Maybe I think definitely, if they got a result against Brighton, I would have given them like an A minus A. But yeah, I think my stand power would probably be Guilty Sears, and he scored 2 against his former club, by the way, Tottenham. I think he's been pretty good recently with all the injuries that Everton have had this season. I feel like without the injuries, Everton would have had a way better season. But yeah.
Yeah, that last point I fully agree with. I mean these injuries have done nothing but cripple Everton. In terms of a man who was so good, especially at the start of the season, but he's been injured. Abdoulaye Doucouré. I haven't seen that guy in gosh knows how long. But he was so good and influential for that Everton side. Right up until he got injured, and it was a shame that he got injured because he was in very, very good form. Not, I mean, he's a defensive midfielder. He doesn't score goals, but he was just in very, very good form. And I definitely rate the lad. He's a good player. And just at that point of the season, Everton were just still thinking about Champions League football, and it was just such a terrible time to lose him. Into the next side, and we have Fulham. They lost 3-1 to Villa, losing to Wolves and drawing to Arsenal, and they did not play anybody in match day 33. Jose, over to you.
Yeah, Fulham, it's been basically what you would expect from Fulham. I think the 1-1 draw against Arsenal, and you look at it as, kind of an impressive result, but they were leading for 96 minutes of 97 minutes of that game. So they really could have gotten the win, but they just couldn't hold on at the end. So I'd probably give them a C minus maybe. Yeah, looking at it, it's difficult to pick one person who really stands out to me as someone who was really important for them. I guess I'm gonna say Josh Maja. I don't know if that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
Just getting that vital goal against Arsenal. It was a penalty, so he had to be composed. He had to finish, and he did so. So.
Yeah. Since he's come in, Josh Maja has been scoring goals also fun for Fulham. He's been so important to them. In terms of just their hopes of staying alive in the Premier League, and he's been just such a big part in that, and he's been a very, very good loan signing for them. Next we have Leeds. They beat Sheffield United by 2-1. They beat Manchester City, very impressive, by 2-1. They drew with Liverpool, which most people would say impressive, but it's Liverpool, and Liverpool these days, it's really not that hard to not lose. And they drew 0-0 with Manchester United. Andre, what are you giving Leeds?
Yeah, I mean, from the results you just said, they're undefeated. So I think I'd have to give them an A. I mean, they haven't faced exactly easy opposition in that. They came out with points against the top 2 teams in the league. Both Manchester sides. I think Marcelo Bielsa might be Pep Guardiola's kryptonite. That's the second time this season that he's upset him. I think the first one was a draw actually, but whatever. Yeah, I think Leeds get an A. That's the end of it. I can't remember his name, but they have that winger who's. You know what I'm talking about?
Jack Harrison.
No.
Stuart Dallas.
Stuart Dallas. Oh, my bad. No, Dallas has been quite impressive. But yeah, I think they get an A. They've come out with really good points.
Yeah, Stuart Dallas has been super important to the Leeds United side, especially in the streak of 4 games, scoring both goals in that massive win against Manchester City. I know I was celebrating that win, because
until they versed you guys.
Yep, 100%. Yep, there you go. Into the next side, and we have Leicester. And kind of interesting.
Davis.
Looking a little.
Davis.
What?
Can I comment on the Leeds, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. God. I just wanted to say that the Leeds for me are looking like the most informed team in the league at the moment, just because they've gone from conceding like 4 goals against Liverpool and 6 goals against Man U to conceding 1 and getting actual decent results against them. I think that they've looked really improved, and I'm happy that Bielsa has finally figured out that you can't actually play really open football like he was against Manchester United and Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, those are all very excellent points. And
It's also
yeah.
I was gonna say their goalie Meslier has been quite good too. He's made some really good stops. Meslier, yeah, he's made some really good stops. I can tell he's like commanding the back line a lot more. So he's been pretty good too. He deserves a shout.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely been looking one of the better players, Meslier. Into the next side, Leicester, and a bit unexpected from Leicester. As we're finding just a bit more inconsistency, just something that we haven't really seen a whole lot of from Leicester this season. If you look at the grand scheme of things, losing 2-0 to Manchester City, they lost 3-2 to West Ham, beating West Brom by 3-0, and coming from behind and beating Crystal Palace by 2-1. Cyrus, what would you give Leicester, and who would your standout players be?
I think I'd give Leicester like B plus, to be honest. Like, also I know it's like Premier League games, but they've been doing well in the FA Cup as well, courtesy of Fred. So yeah, I think the teams they lost to, like, I don't think I'd expect them to be Man City. They're just a different level, and West Ham has been good this season too. It was kind of a close game, but the stand-up player has to be Kelechi. Long last name.
Iheanacho.
Yeah, he's been amazing scoring. I think he has 10 goals in some 10. I don't know, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's been great. So
I got player of the month as well.
Sorry, what'd you say?
He got player of the month.
Yeah. So there it is.
Yeah. Iheanacho has just been nothing but spectacular. I don't think. I mean, if you had told me maybe a month or two ago that Iheanacho would come into the Leicester side, given the opportunities that he got or would be given, and would outperform and outshine Jamie Vardy, and would play so well that he'd be more consistent than Jamie Vardy, I think a lot of people would be looking at you like you really have no idea what you're talking about. But he's done absolutely amazing, and he signed a new contract, and he's earned that new contract, rightfully so, for his performances. And he's looking very, very consistent. So Iheanacho gets all the praise. Into the next side, and we have Manchester City. And this one may not be as straightforward as some people might think. They started off in Matchday 30, beating Leicester by 2-0, but then losing to Leeds by 2-1, and then beating Villa by 2-1. And they did not play Matchday 33. What would you give Manchester City for this streak of games, and who would your standout player be?
I mean, given their standards, I guess you'd have to give them a B, just because I think for a couple games, United just had that small glimpse of a title challenge after that Leeds loss, but they bounced back. Had a confident one against Leicester before that. So yeah, I'd give them a B, but I think they're still, even with that B, they're still everyone's tied. Like, I mean, it's not confirmed yet, but everyone thinks they're going to win the title. It seems like they are. In terms of standout players, I guess Phil Foden's been pretty good. I mean, Pep's been rotating the squad a lot, but Foden's been
good. Phil Foden, Phil Foden for me is just, every week it just seems like he's justifying why he should be, a main starter in Gareth Southgate's 11 this summer. If he doesn't take this guy, then I'll be shell shocked. Because for me, Phil Foden as just, he reserved that seat on that plane about a month ago, or maybe even before that. But he's just been brilliant, and he's just carried it over into into the streak of and run of games. Yeah, he's been excellent, Phil Foden.
One
Next,
question.
yeah.
Because Phil Foden's, I mean, don't get me wrong, Phil Foden's been like, I mean, excellent, right? Do you think there'd still be like the same, hype around him if Pep hadn't just said like this is the best youngster I've ever coached? Like if we were just going off his performances, would the hype be the same? You guys think? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think that he's proving his worth not only in the Premier League but also in the Champions League. I think he scored against Dortmund and he scored in the previous game. I can't remember who they faced, but I think he scored in the other one as well, in the other tie.
I mean, I'd have to agree with that. Because for me, regardless of I mean, a manager can say X, Y, Z about a player, but if a player goes and just performs on the pitch, then what the manager says, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter necessarily a whole lot. Just because you look at you're just more focused on the player. You should be more focused on the player and what they're doing on the pitch. And Phil Foden is performing on the pitch. So I mean, I guess Pep's hype of Phil Foden is definitely justified, but I just think the greater focus is that he's performing on the pitch, and that's really the thing that matters most. Next we have Liverpool. Liverpool. Where do I start of how much of a shambles this team has been this season? Although the results over the 4 games that they played, have actually been decent compared to what they've actually have been performing like all season. Starting off, they went away to Arsenal, won by 3-0. I was actually very surprised by this. I actually thought Arsenal were gonna actually beat Liverpool here, but I was sorely mistaken. They went and beat Aston Villa by 2-1 after falling from behind. Then they drew Leeds, and then they draw Newcastle with a late Joe Willock goal, which I know seems to be very, very pleased to see. Joe Willock is doing very well at Newcastle right now. Jose, what are you saying for Liverpool, and who stood out for you?
Yeah, I think Jamie Carragher brought up a really good point about Liverpool, and it's that a lot of people this season have focused on Liverpool's defensive situation, and they haven't been good enough on defense. But in reality, their attack has been almost just as poor as their defense. I think that Sadio Mane, who is the player for me that stood out as being terrible in these games, is the prime example of that. I think this season he's pretty much completely lost his form. He scored one against Leeds, but other than that, he had nothing. I saw a tweet after the Newcastle game where there was a fan who replied to Alan Saint-Maximin on Twitter saying, "Can you come to Liverpool?" And Mane goes the other way. And Saint-Maximin,
Yeah, I saw that.
Saint
Yeah, I saw that tweet. That was actually that was funny.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, don't like be happy with what you have," all that stuff. But anyways, I think that I think scoring which game was it? I think it was Villa. It was Villa. Trent Alexander-Arnold scoring the goal in the 90th minute just sums everything up for me. Because Trent has had many issues this season going on defense, and then they're relying on him somehow for their goal scoring, which just speaks wonders to me of how many issues there are at Liverpool right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. When it comes to issues at Liverpool, I mean, there's just so many on the pitch. I'm not as many off the pitch because their ownership is, to be fair, their ownership has done wonders for that club. Unlike 2 of our favorite clubs here, their owners have almost entirely backed Jurgen Klopp, and they've elevated Liverpool, and they've shown it through their signings and the trophies that they've won. Cyrus, do you have something to say about Liverpool?
No.
All right. Well, fair enough. Into the next side, and we have Manchester United. And Manchester United have looked over these 4 games. They have looked very, very, very good, bar the last game. They beat Brighton by 2-1. Then they went away to specialists in failure FC, and no, I'm not talking about Wenger. I'm talking about the other specialists in failure, or former specialist in failure FC, sorry. Um, um, and they won by 3-1. They beat Burnley by 3-1 as well, and then they drew Leeds. Jose, what are you saying, and what are you giving United, and who's your standout player?
Yeah, I've been really pleased with us recently. I think that we've been doing really, really well in the league, and we've been not necessarily playing the way that I'd like to see us play. I like to see us play a lot more aggressively going forward than we do. I think we're just sitting back and scoring goals when we can right now, and it's working. So I'm not really going to complain too much. The Leeds game, I think that Leeds are, like I said before, Leeds are the most informed team in the league right now. I think a draw after a bunch of wins is not the worst thing in the world. So I'd still give us an A at the end of the day. I think my standout player would be Mason Greenwood. He's coming to form at the right time for us.
100% Mason Greenwood. He's been excellent. He scored some big goals. He got a massive goal and assist against the team that Harry Kane will no longer be a part of, bar next season. And Andre has just dipped. Dang. He's gone missing, just like Tottenham did in that Carabao Cup final. Anyways, Cyrus, over to you. Oh, wait, hold on. Hey, he's back.
My turn.
I just have no words. I really didn't just get that whatsoever. Well, anyways, since Cyrus is gone, or is disappeared, just like Burnley did, in that 1-0 loss to Everton, or his hands disappeared. We'll just look at Newcastle. They've looked better than they have in normal weeks. The results definitely show that on paper. And maybe Newcastle will get out of this. I think Newcastle will get out of the mess that they're in, just to at least save themselves. Looking at the results, they drew 2-2 with Tottenham. Joe Willock with the late goal, which will be a reoccurring pattern. They beat Burnley by 2-1. They beat West Ham by 3-2. Kind of shocking. Joe Willock again, and Joe Willock yet again strikes for Newcastle in a 1-1 draw versus Liverpool. Seriously, what would you give Newcastle? And in terms of standout players, would I be right to guess that it would be Joe Willock?
Yeah, I think I'd say so. Honestly, I'd give them an A-, to be honest. Really good win against West Ham. We've been on form for sure. Good win against Burnley, and tying against Liverpool and Tottenham. It's not a bad result considering how they've been the last couple of seasons. So definitely say it was Joe Willock. I think he's been really good since. I'm actually happy he got loaned out. I think he's been really good last couple of games. So yeah, definitely go for him.
And in quick question to ask about Joe Willock from an Arsenal fan perspective, at the end of the season, would you want to see Joe Willock reintegrated into the squad, or would you like to see him moved on?
That's a tough one. I'm kind of on the fence about it, but if he continues this form, would we have a try? I think we'd have to take him back if he continues in this form, or sell him for big money and bring someone else in, world-class midfielder. So we'll see.
All right, fair enough. Into the next side, we have Sheffield United, and commiserations for them because they had been relegated. And that was a long time coming. That was a long time coming since the very beginning of the season, and now it's finally happened. Losing to Leeds by 2-1, then losing to Arsenal by 3-0, losing to Wolves, which confirmed their relegation. But then at least in the next game, they got a win and they beat Brighton by 1-0 at least. It hasn't all been horrendous. At least they got 3 points of some kind. Andre, what are you going to give Sheffield United here?
I mean, you summed it up perfectly, Davis. That whole it's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming. They showed a little bit of fight at the end against Wolves. I guess they just wanted to spare themselves the embarrassment of being, one of the earliest ever teams to be relegated. But it wasn't enough. I think Wolves have some crazy record about like not giving up leads. They're really good at that. Sheffield ended with a positive result against Brighton, but aside from that, they deserve it. I don't think the players are good enough. They had to sack a great manager, Chris Wilder. They had to take the chance, but yeah, hopefully we'll see them back next season as long as they improve, I guess. But it's been a long time coming. I think McGoldrick got the goal against Brighton. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think, I think what's his name? Their goalie hasn't been that bad.
Ramsdale.
Yeah, Ramsdale. He hasn't been too bad. He's looked commanding. He made some positive save against Wolves to keep him out and give him a chance. But yeah, no, it's been a long time coming. They absolutely deserve to be last.
Yeah. Anyways, we into next side, Southampton. And yet again, inconsistency strikes for Southampton. In terms of the game that they played on paper, hasn't looked great. Beating Burnley by 3-2, but then losing 3-0 to West Brom, and then losing to Tottenham as well. Jose, what would you give Southampton, and who would like your standout players be?
Yeah, I think that I would give them. I'd probably have to give them a C. I think that the win against Burnley was impressive, but the loss against West Brom was equally unimpressive. I think that had they won against West Brom, they would have put themselves in a really, really good position going forward in the season. And then the loss against Tottenham as well. I think that they lost that game in the last minute. I think that they could have avoided that had they just held on for another few more minutes. And especially the loss of Danny Ings in that Tottenham game, going out injured, is going to be a massive blow for them going forward in the season. He's my standout player. He was excellent in the win against Burnley, and he scored a goal against Tottenham. So yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think this isn't just one-time standout. I mean, he's been standing out since last season, and he's been standing out again this season. Danny Ings has just been spectacular since he's more or less been at Southampton, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's linked with Man City as well, which is very impressive.
Yeah. But then again, millions and millions of strikers are being linked to Man City, and Pep Guardiola said that they're not signing a striker in any way, shape, or form. I remember him saying that in a press conference. Could he be lying? Possibly, but if he says it, then I don't know if it will happen. I mean, people can clip me if they want and use it later if they happen to sign a striker. But I just don't see them signing a striker, to be honest with you. Into the next side, and we have Tottenham. And it's been a huge week for them. Let's be real. It's been a massive week at Tottenham in terms of change, in terms of results. There's just been a massive overall at the club, and that overhaul will definitely continue in the summer. Whether it's overhauls that need to happen, whether it's overhauls that that they'll begrudgingly accept might happen. But anyways, let's dive into what Tottenham's results. Drawing against Newcastle, losing to Manchester United at home, and then a draw with Everton, which that was not the direct reason, but that result was the end of Jose Mourinho as he got sacked, I think, later that week. Results could be part of it, but I think it's mainly due to everything that's gone on with the Super League. And if people are wondering, what are my thoughts on the Super League? If you want to go and find out, click on the video before this one, and Aiden and I will tell you everything we think about the Super League. Anyways, back to Tottenham. He got sacked, and then the youngest manager in Premier League history, Ryan Mason, appointed just as an interim till the end of the season. I have had a couple of Tottenham friends, not Andre, but a couple of Tottenham friends tell me that he's going to be better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's interim reign, which I think that's just a bit ambitious, considering he has even less managerial experience than Mikel Arteta, which not a dig at Mikel Arteta. He literally has none. Um, to start his reign, he did get a 2-1 win against Southampton. What are you going to give Tottenham in terms of their ratings, and who are your standout players?
Yeah, probably an A plus plus. It's been really, really good. Outshot or conceded 20 shots to Newcastle. We were their team to regain their form, I guess. A plus plus. Had a really great loss against United, where we definitely didn't deserve to lose. Nobody saw that one coming. No, it has been a huge week. Super League. That story about the Mourinho thing with the Super League, I think it was debunked. It was like, I think it was someone posing as a journalist made it up, but I'm still glad it happened because I like positive when the media is behind Mourinho. That's a change of scenery. Then we had the draw against Everton. I think Reguilon was so clumsy. He has been clumsy lately. I think if Davies put in those performances, it'd be everyone talking about selling him. Bring back Danny Rose. No, I can't take that. I can't take that.
And best left back.
Nah, no, right? No, it's been insane. I think people are. I mean, I'd be remiss not to mention sacking Mourinho before the cup final, which has been a big topic of conversation. But the truth is that it's like we were solid defensively and sucked in attack, and put on Moussa Sissoko, who bottled it at the end. So that's the most Mourinho away we could have gotten.
Moussa Sissoko. As I said so many times, every time Mourinho plays Sissoko and Dembele Aurier, it's as if he just wants the French speaking friends group. It's
so weird. It's so weird.
The Tottenham Hotspur remakes of the Friends theme song. I'll be there for you, Sissoko, Aurier, and Dembele. It's literally the Tottenham remix of the Friends song. But I'm just wondering, as we're talking about the Super League, I just want to get all your opinions. Cyrus, starting with you. What were your opinions, or briefly, what were your thoughts on the Super League?
I didn't really fancy it, to be honest. I didn't really like it, but I think that some of it, I kind of like some of it, how they did it. It would be entertaining to see all these teams play, week in, week out. But it's not. I don't know. I feel like it just wouldn't work. I didn't like it. I feel like for the smaller teams it was unfair, and I'm glad that the fans came behind and got rid of it. So Perez says they're still signed a contract. I don't know what that's about, but we'll see if that happens in the future.
Yeah. Jose, what were your thoughts on the Super League?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I'm a Real Madrid fan, so I'm obviously I follow the club a lot, and I'm actually a really, really big fan of Florentino Perez. I don't know what you guys think of him, obviously, because if I wasn't a Real Madrid fan, I'd probably hate him because he really only cares about Real Madrid. So my thoughts on it was basically my main issue was that none of the 15 clubs supposed 15 clubs who founded it could ever be relegated. So I think that was my major issue with it. And I think that if that was changed, then I'd be okay with it. I think that the football community is really nostalgic, and rightly so, for the Champions League and for all the history that it's given to all of our clubs and the great moments that it's provided. But I think that the Super League and the new Champions League format are so similar that it really wouldn't matter. And I know that you said earlier about the clubs all still being signed to a contract. I think that they definitely are all still signed to a contract because no one wants to pay Florentino Perez all that money just for him to go sign Kylian Mbappe for Real Madrid and beat them all in the Champions League anyway. So I think that that they are going to all stay on the contract, and they're all going to try to figure out a new competition that will make the fans happier.
And lastly, Andre, what are your thoughts on the Super League?
I mean, I'm gonna drop two blonde way bombshells right now. One about Super League and one about Mourinho. I think with the Super League, I think there were definitely some problems with it, but I think the concept in general, I don't think it would be terrible given the circumstances. I think it was a good way to At least I think it'd be good for a 2-year basis. Because when you consider the money that would be brought into those major clubs, and then you get small, like slightly, clubs below, like Leicester, Everton, that would go and have a chance at Europe, and then it'd be more European football for everybody, and it'd be a good. I think it was a good solution for 2 years, but the reality is that they'd probably see how much money the Super League is making, and they wouldn't stop, and they'd probably continue with that 23-year contract. And had that happen, I think that'd ruin the nostalgia of a lot of of Champions League. We'd all be sad. But for me, in that scenario where domestic leagues continue, you get the Super League. I thought it was a good way to bounce back. I think the whole this is the end of football, that whole thing. I think that was kind of it was propaganda. It was just of me. I don't think they really meant that. I think FIFA's just as horrible. I think that whole thing with this is the end of football. It wasn't. That was just a marketing scheme to get people and unite the fans. It was BS. So I think people overreacted. And they did it successfully. It's the failure of groupthink, I guess. But Super League, I have mixed feelings about it. I have my own idealization of Super League, but it probably wouldn't have happened. The greed would have gotten the best of us in the end. Do you want to talk, or can I go on to my Mourinho thing?
No, go on to your, as you quoted yourself, a Blondway's Mourinho bombshell.
These are two bombshells. That's a conspiracy theory that that whole FIFA football is over. That was just marketing bullshit. The Mourinho thing. Here's my thing. I think we were going to sack Mourinho either way. Okay, I think had he won a trophy with Spurs, we would have had to pay him the 30 million in his contract. And if he didn't win a trophy, we cut the price in half. So I think it was a financial thing. I don't think really our owners really gave a flying shit about the Carabao Cup final. I think they thought, let's just save money and let's just sack Mourinho and have our chance of see what we can do with Ryan Mason. And it's been nice to see a lot of positive, at least opinions about Ryan Mason, but because he is somewhat of a club legend. But that's my conspiracy on Mourinho. I don't think it had anything to do with Super League. I don't think it had. I mean, it did have to do with the results, but that's why we sacked him for the cup. Tottenham get a D.
All right. Fair enough. Anyways, getting back to the last three Premier League teams that we have, Cyrus, over to you, and we have West Brom. And they actually have been decent. I'm not going to lie over the past, the 4 games that they played. They've got some good results going for them. They annihilated Chelsea 5-2 at Stamford Bridge, beating Southampton 3-0 at home, but then losing by that same score line to Leicester, and then drawing Aston Villa. West Brom, have had a decent past 4 games. Serious. What would you give West Brom, and who would your standout players be for them?
I mean, for a team in 19th place, I'd give them like a B+, to be honest. I mean, they beat Southampton, losing Leicester, and tying to Aston Villa. I mean, and then of course they took they beat Chelsea 5-2. I mean, I don't think anyone expected that result. And honestly, I think they're gonna get relegated. I think they're gonna have to. I think if they lose next game, are they out for sure? Or I think they're really far behind.
I'm not. I
No,
think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
They're 9 points behind Brighton with the same amount of games left to play. So I think if they lose and Brighton wins, then they go 12 points clear, and it's 12 points. No, so it's still they still have another game. They still have another game of leeway.
All right. Thanks to Jose for backing us up with that bit of mathematical possibility reality check there. I mean, it's not mathematically impossible, but I think this has just been another, this has been a long time coming kind of thing. Regardless of, at times we've seen West Brom been decent this season by their standards. I just think it was going to happen at some point. And serious, who would your standout player be for West Brom?
I guess Pereira. He's been good. He scored 2 against Chelsea. So yeah.
Yeah. I'd also shout out Callum Robinson. he's been very good, I have to say as well. He scored a hat trick. I think he scored a hat trick against Chelsea. And I think I could be wrong. I think he scored 2 or 3 goals against Southampton. And I think he might have scored against Villa. He's also been in good form. Callum Robinson. On to the next side, and we have West Ham. And they seem like they're just starting to drop off, and they're losing their grasp of Champions League football next season. But injuries have just been such a problem, and they've done a great job at actually at playing on with, especially Mikel Antonio out. They've done a very good job of it, but it's just starting to catch up with them now. They beat Wolves by 3-2. They beat Leicester by the same scoreline, losing to Newcastle at the other end of that same scoreline and losing by 0-0 to Chelsea. What would you say for West Ham?
Yeah, so they've looked really good this season. Obviously, I think in these 4 games, I'd probably have to give them a B just because of that one disappointing loss to Newcastle. I think that their win against Leicester City was particularly impressive. Jesse Lingard, of course, the hero in that one. He's my stand-up player. He's been so good for them since coming from Manchester United, and I'm excited that we're going to get a good amount of money for him.
100%. And I saw a report today that Lingard does not want anything to do with Manchester United next season. He wants to stay at West Ham, and he's willing to force that move through. So that should be pretty prominent for Manchester United to sell. I mean, you could get up to, he's on the last year of his contract, and you could still get about £30 million for him. He's on the final year of his contract, and that's just about, in terms of form right now, price alone taking contracts out of it, he's worth about 50 million in terms of just form. But we could get 30 million for him. And for me, it's just a no-brainer at this point. Lastly, we have Wolves. And it's been up and down for these 4 games, losing to West Ham, losing to Fulham by 0-0. Beating Fulham by 0-0, beating Sheffield United by 0-0 as well, and losing by 4-0 against Burnley. What are you saying for Wolves, and who's your standout player?
Yeah, I can't believe you guys got 30 million for Lingard. I hate that things are going well for United. With Wolves, I would say, that the results prior to that Burnley match weren't horrible. I think that Burnley match kind of puts everything else in the shadows, all the good work they've had in the last few games. But overall, I'd say Wolves have had just such a weird season. I know they lost Raul Jimenez, but it's been a weird season for them in general. I don't think they can even finish top half. I'd probably give them a C for their last few games. I think Adama Traore has had some good moments. Their defense has looked really solid. I think Boley has been back in the side. But yeah, I'd say those 2 players, and yeah, that's about it.
All right, fair enough. And into our last segment, into our predictions. We're just gonna go rapid fire on this in terms of predictions. For Matchday 34, starting with Southampton versus Leicester, and I think Leicester will take all 3 points here. Jose, starting with you.
Yeah, I agree. My friend Omar, is a Leicester fan, and he's been singing Jamie Vardy's praises recently, and I think that he predicted that Leicester would win this game, and I'm gonna agree with him on this one.
Is he a bit hungry or no?
Hungry for wins, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Andre, what about you?
Yeah, Leicester. Keep it quick.
And Cyrus, what about you?
Yeah, I'd love to have a camera reaction, but Davis won't let my other account in. So I guess I'm not having a camera. That's fine. I'll go with Leicester.
Well, I didn't know you were there up until you just came up. Brilliant. Well, for now, just quickly say your prediction for Southampton and Leicester. Anything?
Leicester.
Brilliant. Into Crystal Palace and Manchester City, and I think City will take all three. Jose, starting with you.
I agree with you. City to win.
Andre,
Yeah, City.
and Cyrus, what about you?
Yeah.
Next, we have Brighton taking on Leeds. And I think this one's actually be more interesting than people anticipate. In terms of just the way Brighton play, they play pretty defensive. And Leeds just more. They play less open and expensive football, but at the same time, they still play that way. I mean, I might be, the odd guy out, but I think this might end in a draw. I think this game might end in a draw, to be honest with you. Jose, what are you saying?
I actually agree with you. I think that it will be a draw.
Andre, what about you?
Yeah, I was thinking. I was thinking a draw too, but I'm gonna go Brighton win just to be exciting.
And Sirius, lastly, over to you.
Yeah. I go with the Brighton win. I would. Yeah.
Just why?
How'd that happen?
I think I've been hacked.
Wait, Davis, was that your friend who's a Leeds fan?
No.
Oh.
I don't know who that lad was.
Oh, geez. Scott, big up yourself. Chelsea, Fulham. And straightforward. Chelsea's just gonna take all three here. What are you saying?
I agree. Chelsea win.
All right, Andre, what about you?
Yeah, Chelsea win.
And Sirius, lastly, over to you.
I'm gonna go with a cheeky tie because I feel like with a Champions League stuff, I don't know, something will cheekily happen. Maybe second team.
Okay. Everton and Villa. I think Villa's just been a bit inconsistent as of recent, and I mean, so have Everton. I think this is going to be a draw. Jose, what are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to my local Villa fan who lives across the way. His name is Victor. Maybe one day we can get him on the podcast, but I was talking to him, and I think he was not very confident in this game. I'm not very confident in Villa's ability in this game either. I'm gonna go with the draw.
All right, Andre, what about you?
I don't care about either of these teams. I'll go Everton win.
And Sirius, lastly, over to you.
Yeah, I'll go Everton win as well.
All right, Newcastle, Arsenal. And in the Premier League, Arsenal has been shit as of recent. And I think this is, I think, and Newcastle have been looking good actually. Do you know what? I actually think Newcastle's going to get a win here. I think Newcastle will take all three, and I do. I also do. I might be the odd man out, but
No, I do as well. I was gonna predict the same thing. Everyone knows I fancy predicting Arsenal to lose, and I'm gonna do it here.
all right. Andre, do you fancy the same as me and Jose?
I want to, but I'll stay honest. No, I think Arsenal will get the win.
And Sirius, what about you?
Yeah, I just don't care, to be honest. I only care about the Europa League, but maybe a tie. I think you're right. Newcastle have been on form, so I'll go with a tie. My friend Preston Ziegler likes to go to the stables a lot, so I think he wanted tie as well, so I'll go with that.
All right. Next, Man United and Liverpool. And I can already predict this game without even having to look into it. It's going to be a nice, good old-fashioned, boring, bullshit, Maguire Lindelof, McFred-esque, typical Oli performance, 0-0 draw. Jose, what are you saying?
Yeah, I was tempted to say the same. I'll probably be watching this with some of the Brentwood lads. Scott Holland may even join us. So we'll watch this game and we'll see how it goes. It'll probably be boring. I'm gonna go 0-0 as well.
All right, Andre, what are you saying?
Yeah, I'll go draw.
Right,
Yeah.
Sirius, what are you saying?
Yeah. Draw.
All right. Tottenham against Sheffield United. And I think Sheffield United are just. They're just doomed for the rest of the year. And yeah, I know it is Tottenham, but this is just bare minimum. Bare minimum requirements. And if Tottenham lose to Sheffield United, then my views of Tottenham will just drastically change. For a very long period of time. I expect Tottenham to get nothing but 3 points. Jose, what are you saying?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. Tottenham win.
Andre, serious?
Yeah, I mean Ryan Mason is like the English Pep Guardiola, so we're gonna win the match.
No waffling on about Ryan Mason. Just
No, actually, I actually agree with Andre. I think he's a really young prospect. So this is the first time on the show. I'm gonna go the Tottenham win.
Yeah, younger than Loris.
Yeah.
that's facts. That is facts.
Younger than Bale.
Into the second to last fixture, we have West Brom versus Wolves. And this one actually is another interesting one. I feel like this game's gonna end in a draw, in my opinion. Just I don't know. So I'm getting a gut feeling that this might be a draw. Jose, what are you saying?
I think a draw is a good prediction. Wolves have been really, really up and down this season, dealing with the loss of Raul Jimenez, and West Brom have looked resurgent recently. So I think that a draw is a good prediction, and I'll agree with you there.
All right. Andre, serious. What are you two saying?
Yeah, I'll go with draw as well.
I'm gonna go with a West Brom win. I feel like it's now or never. They're gonna bring everything out. And I think Wolves had not really good form. So yeah.
Okay. Into the last fixture, Burnley against West Ham. What are you lot saying?
This is an interesting one. Well, I think we all know that Burnley fancy a result against the top four, top six. I'm gonna go with a cheeky 1-0 Burnley.
Okay. Serious, Andre?
Yeah. I'll agree with Jose here. It's a really tough one to call, honestly.
And serious, over to you.
Oh yeah, it should be an interesting game. I'm gonna go with a tie though.
Yeah. And I actually was gonna 100% agree with you on that one. I actually think this is gonna be a draw. I think these two are gonna meet neck and neck with each other in terms of just where they're at right now in terms of form at the moment. Well, anyways, that's the end of this episode. And if you liked what you've seen, smash like on the video, and please take a look at our other platforms, subscribe to the channel, and wherever you're watching this in the world, have a great day. And as Una Emery would say, good evening.